Hey everyone, today I have Coca-Cola coffee. And I think this is such an interesting product because, well, I'm actually a Coca-Cola fan. So it's really interesting to see a big brand like Coca-Cola come in and say, let's do this weird coffee-cola hybrid. First of all, I really want to talk about getting this. So I'm in the Bay Area in California, and I had to go to 3 or 4 different stores before I found it. And I still could not find the Coke Zero version of these. I went to a Safeway, a 7-Eleven, I went to a Target. I could not find this thing at all. But I found out that Walmart carries this. And this was, I believe, around $1.80 after tax, around there. I think it's like $1.50 in other parts of the country. Might be a little marked up where I'm at, but it was a little bit hard to find this, I guess. I had to drive a bit around to get it. So before I go in and test this and talk about the cans and all of that, I really just want to establish that I am a fan of Coca-Cola. My favorite Coke drink is Coca-Cola Lime. And the reason why I really like Coca-Cola Lime is because Coca-Cola Lime has the addition of this lime flavoring that enhances Coca-Cola. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you are drinking Coca-Cola. You're drinking Coca-Cola and it has that, that really nice flavor profile that you're so used to, but it has this nice kick of lime. Now that's very similar to my own personal coffee preferences. I really like medium to light roasts because I like the chocolatiness that you find in a medium roast, but I want a little bit of that acidity or a little bit of that fruitiness that you might find in a light roast. I really do like coffee that has those notes just to enhance the overall chocolatiness, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there is chocolatiness. So that's what I'm really hoping to find here, where it is still a very standard Coca-Cola profile with the addition of coffee. And I think that is kind of really interesting to me because I do like Coca-Cola. So we have 3 different flavors here today. This is the dark blend, the caramel, and the vanilla. What's really cool with this can design is that it's not just one color. You have the different flavoring colors that kind of just trickle through the cans like so. And then we see that there is a coffee bean in the middle on each of these. These are a nice can design, actually. I think this is really cool coming from a company like Coca-Cola. I didn't really try many of the other energy drinks. I know they make the energy drinks, but I'm more a fan of, well, coffee. So I'm really excited to see what this tastes like. What's also really interesting is that there are only 70 calories in each of these. Compare that to a normal can of Coke, that's pretty good. And also, there's 18 grams of sugar. It's nowhere near as high as the actual, regular Coke, especially a Coke in the size of 12 fluid ounces. So that's actually pretty cool. And I'm kind of excited to see, well, how sweet is it? Because regular Coca-Cola is actually really, really sweet. If they're able to tone down that sweetness and replace some of that sweetness with a coffee flavor, I'm really excited for that. How I'm going to do this is I'm just going to try the dark blend first. Then we'll go into the caramel, and then we'll go into the vanilla. I'm gonna pour them out into these clear glasses so we can see if they are any different in color than normal Coca-Cola. Currently on the website, I can't really find any specific information as to what kind of dark blend this is or what that actually means. But there are some clear directions that say, make sure you serve this ice cold for maximum refreshment. So we have done that. It's pretty cold. The only other branding on this particular can is great Coca-Cola taste blended with rich, luxurious coffee. I'm curious what that means. Let's find out. Okay, pour some in. All right, this looks pretty good. This looks like standard Coca-Cola color. Nothing weird about it. And it's got that nice carbonation on the top. It does kind of seem like maybe this carbonation is a little more foamy than what I'm used to. Let's find out. This is very interesting. The first sip that you get is totally Coca-Cola. Then that Coca-Cola flavor just like instantly dies out. And then you get hit with this, I don't want to say bad things about this, but it kind of is like this watered down coffee. Let me try some more. The mouthfeel is definitely exactly like Coca-Cola. It's that aftertaste where there is this sort of coffee flavor. This is also not very, very sweet. It has that like initial zing that you get on your tongue when you drink Coca-Cola, but that instantly dies out, and then there's this coffee flavor that comes right in. It also smells like Coca-Cola, but not as strong, and that might just be because there's not as much like sugar or syrup in this thing. But this is kind of like, instead of that really sweet aftertaste, or not super sweet aftertaste, but that aftertaste that you get with Coca-Cola, instead of it being so sweet or cola-like, there's this hint of coffee. Not really sure if I like that or not, but it's different, so I don't want to hate it just yet. Let's take a look at the next flavors. Next up is caramel. This is the one that I'm a bit excited for because I think this will be hopefully sweet, but a little bit more interesting than just having a weird like coffee flavor at the end that dies out after an initial Coca-Cola taste. I'm curious if this is going to be a different color than the dark blend. Smells really good. It actually smells more Coca-Cola-like than the dark blend. So let's go and pour it in. This is looking like it has a lighter color already. So we see, it might be really hard to see, but the caramel seems to have just a slightly lighter color than the dark blend. So maybe they're using a lighter roast, who knows? And also what's interesting is on the dark blend, look at how there is so much more of that carbonation on the top than the caramel. But let's have a sip of this and see what it tastes like. Smells good. So instead of you getting hit with the Coca-Cola at the very beginning, you're kind of hit with a very muted Coca-Cola flavor. Then it transitions into a caramel-like flavor. But I don't really taste much coffee out of this. I can see what they're going for, but it's like really, really watered down coffee. And so far, the same property has applied between both of these, is that the overall, I guess, carbonation or cola-like on your tongue where you get that zing because of the carbonation, it's very, very muted on both of these. But I am actually feeling some of the caffeine coming out of this. So that actually is pretty good so far from the caffeination perspective. Definitely with regular Coca-Cola, I don't really feel the caffeine as much. This here, I'm definitely feeling the caffeine already. The caramel, I think, tastes a little bit better than the dark blend because the dark blend just kind of goes into this really muted, I don't want to say filter coffee, but really like very muted coffee-like flavor. It doesn't really have that much coffee in it, whereas this is going, instead of into that muted, weird coffee flavor or watered down coffee flavor, we're getting this caramel. It's obviously an artificial caramel, a very like artificial-like caramel flavor, but it's not actually that sweet. And that's actually kind of why I prefer this one so far. And this one might be the winner, but let's try the vanilla. Pouring the vanilla in. Okay. It really looks like there's not much carbonation in the caramel compared to the vanilla and compared to the dark blend here. We're really seeing that there's way less carbonation in the caramel. I don't know why. But let's go ahead and try out the vanilla. Smells good. Okay, so these all have the same property of hitting you up front with the Coca-Cola taste. But this one tastes really good. I actually think this one tastes better than the caramel because you're getting that vanilla flavor immediately. Where it seems like these two, I'm gonna have to try them again too, but it seems like these two, you get into this muted coffee flavor, you get into this muted, I guess, caramel flavor. The transition is really slow on these in the aftertaste. This one, you just get hit with the vanilla like right after that initial Coke flavor. And this one smells, I think, Yeah, this one smells the most, I guess, true to its flavor. The dark blend so far has been the most disappointing, but I'm gonna have to try them out again. But vanilla here is pretty good, actually. I really like this vanilla. This is obviously not your organic or fancy vanilla extract that you'll find. There's this additional texture that I'm getting. It's kind of actually similar to the Coke vanilla that you might try. It has less of the Coke flavor up front. This is really the same thing that I'm finding across the board out of three of these, is that initial Coke flavor up front is just kind of toned down a lot. What I'm looking for right after that is, well, what does it actually taste like? Because we know these are all Coca-Cola. Does it taste like what it says on the label? The dark blend, let me try this again. The dark blend has this slight coffee flavor that you get hit with. It's so subtle. It's very watered down, or very watered down coffee, and that coffee doesn't really have any sort of direction it's going in. Like it definitely feels one of those darker roasts where there's no clear flavor notes within that coffee. But I think this is probably my least favorite of these three. I'm gonna try caramel again. Same thing. I think the level of Coke that you get hit with in the beginning is about the same, but there is a slight delay before you start tasting the caramel in the aftertaste. And the caramel here is not actually super sweet, so I kind of like that, where it's not that sweet caramel. This is pretty good. And then I think I'm just going to have a little bit more of this vanilla here. And this vanilla, I think, is so much better than the other two. This one, you're getting something else, whereas definitely in some coffees, like regular coffee, you definitely want to have, especially in espresso, mouthfeel, and you want some sort of texture in there. Usually in these carbonated drinks, the texture that you get is due to the carbonation. So if I were to rank it from mouthfeel, dark blend has it, because look at how there's even carbonation here. For whatever reason, caramel doesn't have any sort of carbonation at all. It's not as fizzy as the other two. Why I think the vanilla is my most preferred of the three is the vanilla has the carbonation, but it also has a little bit of mouthfeel, maybe because of that vanilla flavoring that I'm getting. The caramel in here is slightly muted. It's not super sweet caramel. It's fine. And this dark blend is just kind of, I don't know, it's boring. What happened with this and all of these actually is they tone the Coke initial hit that you get from Coke from like a 10 to like a 7. So the initial first sip that you get right up front is a muted Coca-Cola flavor. I think that's actually kind of preferred for some people. And then right after it, that's when you get hit with the other flavor. And whatever the other flavor here, for example, in this dark blend, it's this really very boring, muted coffee. I don't know. There is a little bit of coffee hinted flavor in there, but it's not very good. In the caramel, because it's not as fizzy, we're not getting that, I guess, regular enjoyment and the zing that you get when you drink carbonated drinks like this. What you are getting is you're getting a very kind of muted caramel. And I kind of like that because I don't like drinks that are super sweet, but this was kind of just also not that good. This vanilla, though, is actually pretty good because there is the nice mouthfeel that you get due to the carbonation, but there's also seems like there's more texture and more stuff going on because this vanilla is fairly apparent, and this vanilla doesn't really overpower the regular Coke flavor. So I am a fan of this vanilla here. This tastes pretty good. I'm actually quite surprised. So I think the first two are all right. I'm ranking this vanilla here as my favorite of the three. Coke tried the energy drinks, now they're trying the coffee stuff. And I think from a coffee perspective, I have mixed feelings about this because I'm not really tasting much coffee in any of these. I'm really tasting, well, Coca-Cola. But I think this is interesting because the calories are fairly low, and this still tastes like a fairly sweet drink. There's no milk or anything in it, but it's pretty okay, at least the vanilla. The other thing too is, maybe you can tell I'm talking a little bit faster, is it does feel like the caffeine in here is pretty good. And because these don't have that much sugar in it, so I'm definitely not feeling like a sugar rush. I'm actually feeling the caffeine. Pretty good out of a can for $1.50, $1.80 or so. And also the enjoyment, I think the vanilla is the most enjoyable to drink. If I'm getting the caffeine, because that's why most people drink coffee, and I'm getting a pretty good flavor profile, which is, I like this vanilla the most, then I'm pretty happy for $1.50, $1.80, especially considering the calorie count on this is fairly low. So this is pretty interesting for me. I've tasted these a little bit more, and this is the most common way I can describe these. You get hit with this muted Coca-Cola flavor. It's about maybe 7 out of 10 on the Coca-Cola-ishness scale. A little bit toned down Coca-Cola flavor. Then there's like this peak where they try to give you this coffee bean flavor. It's all right. It's kind of like this watered down coffee flavor. And then that's kind of the same across the board here in terms of flavor. In terms of carbonation, these two are so much better than the caramel. The caramel just doesn't really have much carbonation for whatever reason. But you get hit with that Coca-Cola flavor, then you get hit with this kind of watered down coffee bean type of flavor, and then you get hit with the aftertaste, which kind of is, in this case, the dark blend is, it just really falls flat. It's this like very watered down, maybe it's just a dark roast of some sort, but it tastes really boring. It tastes very watered down. So you get hit with this peak of watered down, then you get hit with this aftertaste of like watered down coffee. In caramel, instead of it being watered down coffee in this dark blend, you get hit with this caramel, like this very artificial caramel flavor. But because there's not much carbonation in this one, it's really like not fun. It's very flat actually. It's like you're just drinking, I don't know, very flat water that has caramel flavor in it. But then in this vanilla, this is the good stuff here. This vanilla, you get the carbonation, you get that kick of Coca-Cola flavor, then you get into this like, watered down coffee bean flavor. But instead of it falling flat or landing into this like very like boring type of drink or flat carbonation, lack of carbonation here, you get this really nice vanilla flavor. And that vanilla flavor is really fun to drink. This makes this really fun to drink and much more enjoyable than these two. But overall, what's nice about these that I'm finding as I've been drinking these is that it's only 70 calories and I'm already getting a caffeine high, and it does taste pretty sweet. And I know there's a lot of people like sweet coffee. The thing is that if you really like, I would pick this vanilla over the other ones. But for me, I'm definitely gonna buy more of this because I'm getting a good amount of caffeine. Like I'm feeling it right now. But it's also really fun to drink because there's carbonation, and it's a very familiar type of carbonation because it's a Coca-Cola carbonation. And then it makes this vanilla flavor here, makes it enjoyable to drink. So that's kind of my wrap up of, after tasting this again some more, I think the vanilla is the best. I think the vanilla is the most enjoyable to drink. But what has been nice about this is I am feeling the caffeine, and that's probably why most people are gonna buy this anyway. You want to be caffeinated, and at the end of the day, black coffee isn't for everyone. You can get your caffeine in other ways. These guys here are very muted at the end of the day of coffee, but this one's the most enjoyable to drink. Well, that was a fun video. I just thought this was super interesting. Coca-Cola has been one of my favorite companies. They make some really good drinks sometimes, to be honest. And it's really cool to see them try and make an attempt at coffee. And I think this actually does hit the mark probably for most typical consumers. Typical consumer is not going to care how much coffee there is in here. They're probably gonna care that there is a little bit of coffee, and you do get that. What they probably are wanting at the end of the day is still an overall flavor profile of, well, Coke. It's pretty cool to see that they've tried this, but I do think that The caramel is just super boring to drink. The dark blend it just doesn't really taste like good coffee at all. Or like, you know, I like the Coca-Cola flavor, but then it's just like very flat, watered down, dark roasted coffee. It feels like maybe I'm getting, you know, I'm getting subliminal marketed here because it has dark blend on it, but it does taste like maybe this really like poorly executed filter coffee. Doesn't really taste that good. But the vanilla though is good. This is fun to drink. You get the vanilla, you know, you get the Coke flavor, you get the vanilla, and this is giving me the same amount of caffeine. So if I were to rank things, I definitely would pick the drink that's the most enjoyable of the bunch to drink. And this one here has done that. And I'm very happy that there's a big company like Coca-Cola actually trying something like this, and they are doing a good-ish job at it. Like, this is pretty good. Not gonna lie, maybe I'm biased because I'm a Coca-Cola fan. So this is kind of what we expected, right? These are Coke products at the end of the day. It's gonna be Coke forward. It's not going to be coffee forward, but there is a little bit of a hint of coffee in each of these. So for me as an enthusiast, I know that these aren't going to taste that good if I were to really try to evaluate them from a coffee perspective. The next level after that is utility and fun. So utility-wise of these, yes, we're getting the caffeine. I'm feeling the caffeine. It does a good job there. Fun-wise is the carbonation and overall flavor profile and maybe texture or anything in there where it's like, is this a drink that's, well, fun to drink? And I'm really getting that with the vanilla flavor here. This is pretty good. So, good attempt by Coca-Cola. This was just a fun video because I've always been interested in seeing these larger companies come in and try to make something good like this. This is good. More companies should try to do this. These are like boring. This one's good. This is just a fun thing for me. I really enjoyed trying these out actually. But it really surprised me that this vanilla was as good as I thought it was. Stay tuned. There's gonna be more fancy videos out there. We're going to be doing a lot of roasting in the future. There's going to be videos like about the Bripe, about all this other cool stuff. Thanks again for spending the time to watch the video. I really hope you enjoyed listening to my thoughts about Coca-Cola coffee. And please subscribe and let me know if you have any questions on anything, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks again for watching.